We've entered day 5 of the partial government shutdown over President Trump's border wall. Thousands of federal employees are returning to work without pay. Mr. Trump has reasserted that he would not budge on negotiations to reopen the government until the Democrats agree to fund the multi-billion-dollar project to build the wall. Senior political reporter and federal politics editor at the Center for Public Integrity, Dave Leventhal, is in San Antonio, Texas. Dave, thanks for joining us. Congress is set to reconvene on Thursday. What's the next step for the negotiations over the border wall?
Ultimately, there's going to have to be some sort of give and take from the two sides. You have President Trump on one side, who is very locked down on the notion that he wants $5 billion to be put in any piece of legislation going forward to fund the government agencies that are no longer being funded right now. And then the Democrats are still at that $1.5 billion mark. Make no mistake about this. It's all about the wall, and this is going to be the crux of the negotiations going forward, as it was 5 days ago and a couple of weeks ago as we got to the point where the government shutdown actually happened.
And the Democrats will be taking over the House early next year. So how is that fact complicating negotiations?
Well, it's a big kind of run out the clock kind of situation here. If ultimately this goes into early January, as some people think that it may, then ultimately the Democrats in the House are going to be in the driver's seat, and by virtue of that, they're going to be able to dictate to the Senate what exactly the House is providing. So right now, with Republicans in charge of the House, you're getting bills that are very much directed toward what Donald Trump wants. When the Democrats are in charge of the House, if we get to that point and the government is still not funded, then you have the Democrats who are going to be going in a very opposite direction. So it's really kind of a mess right now, and there's really no path forward at this moment, or a clear path forward as to how the government is going to get funded. And agencies like the State Department, Homeland Security, the Commerce Department, the Justice Department, these government agencies are going to get the money they need to restart their operations. And of course, this is not a full government shutdown, but a partial government shutdown, nevertheless, is very disruptive, as we've seen over the past few days.
And remind us here, last week the Senate passed a bill, right? What exactly was included with that? Was that also border construction, border wall construction, or was it border security, or was there a little bit of both?
Yeah, a little bit of both. And ultimately, you've hit really to the point here that the U.S. Senate is going to pass something. The U.S. House is going to pass something. You get the two together, and they present ultimately a piece of legislation that goes to Donald Trump for his signature. So there has been lots of competing different proposals and different bills, both from the Senate and the House, from the Democrats, from the Republicans, and they just haven't been able to get to the point right now where Donald Trump has said, all right, let's play ball here. Let's get this going forward, and this is something that I will sign. That, too, in and of itself has been an issue because the president hasn't exactly telegraphed what he would want specifically in order to get a bill that he would sign. He says he wants funding for the wall. He says he wants $5 billion. But would it be for a concrete wall, for a fence, for some type of border, something that would be non-wall border security? It's been unclear as to whether the president will even be able to get to a point where he'll step back away from the notion of $5 billion specifically for a wall.
And Dave, on Monday, the president announced that he had awarded a contract for a 115-mile-long section of the wall. What do we know about that, and where is this money coming from?
It's been a very strange comment that the White House or the Department of Homeland Security has not responded to reporters' comments as to what exactly this even was. Just at a very basic level, the president himself cannot just hand out contracts. There's a contracting process. This goes through government agencies depending on what the contract is for. So it was very odd for him to tweet that, and we haven't gotten any clarification as to what he meant. Now, mind you, there are things going on all along the border at any time, any given time, on any month of any year. Right. There is funding for different types of border security protections that have been going forward, including the repair and the building of different types of barriers all along the wall. But it doesn't seem as if anything that has happened in the past or anything that has happened recently equates to 115 miles worth of border wall, and the notion of a new contract being signed, that just simply isn't the case so far as anyone can tell.
So finally, in the past month, 2 migrant children have died while in U.S. custody. Is there any way to tell at all how these tragic deaths might, in fact, actually affect these discussions over border security and a border wall?
Well, Elaine, it's affected it to the extent that border security is doing a health check on anyone who is in their custody, anyone who's coming across. And that's something that obviously is a direct response to the 2 deaths that have happened in the past several weeks, including the one of the boy who just died very recently. So these are tragic situations. Nobody wants to see anyone, regardless of how they feel about immigration, die in U.S. custody. And because of this, this is something that you can expect is going to get very politicized. Already it's becoming politicized. And the Democrats, for their part, are using as an indication that the border is really a situation that shouldn't be about a wall. It should be about processing people who are coming across the border, being able to handle asylum cases. It's a very complex situation that doesn't have an easy answer. If there was an easy answer, we'd have comprehensive immigration reform in this country, which has been tried many, many times over many administrations, Democratic and Republican. And still we are here at this point today without any clear solution.
All right, we'll see how things proceed from here. Dave Leventhal. Dave, thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.